What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be breaking down the latest gameplay trailer, I guess you could call it, showing off all 5 of the newly confirmed specialists, and we're going to be taking a look at each and every detail and covering some of the stuff that you guys might have actually missed on your first watch through. There is quite a lot to digest in this trailer, as they're obviously showing off multiple abilities for 5 new specialists, and so I'll do my best to get through it in as little time as possible. I'm going to go through all of the actual abilities and stuff first, and then I wanted to circle back and just sort of talk about a few things that some of you guys may have missed throughout. So without further ado, let's get stuck right into it. So the first character we meet is Navin Rao, an Indian specialist who falls under the Recon class, and we get a quick look at his specialty and trait in this clip. We can see that he's got the specialty active right now, and he's presumably within range, so the reticle changes shape and actually goes yellow, and it actually hacks the enemy that he's looking at. But what we're seeing in this clip is the trait, which means that anyone you hack, when you kill that enemy, it'll actually reveal any nearby teammates as well. So we see Rao get the kill, and then some enemies show up nearby. The next clip shows the actual use behind hacking things. We can see him aiming at the controls for those bollards, and he actually hacks them to be able to control them from a distance, and as you can see, it results in the enemy vehicle crashing into those bollards. So that's just a quick example of what his abilities can actually do. Something I noticed in this HUD is that he seems to have a new grenade type that obviously wasn't in the beta. Judging by the lightning bolt, I'd assume this is an EMP grenade, although that is just a guess, of course, but I thought that was interesting either way. Next up, we have Dozer, who is a Mexican specialist that comes under the assault class, having a riot shield and blast resistance. Now we get an instant look here at blast resistance, as you'll notice a grenade indicator that was actually missing in the beta, and he essentially just eats that damage for breakfast as he runs over it. So blast resistance is just reduced damage from explosives. We then see his riot shield or ballistic shield in action here, and one thing that I think a lot of people actually might have missed is that he is actually deflecting those shots back at Falk here, and even gets the kill on her without even doing anything. I personally hate that, and I hope they remove that or at least tone it down by launch, but I will talk about that a little bit more in some future videos. Now moving on, we get to see Sundance here, and she's a French specialist who also comes under the assault class, meaning we now have 3 assault specialists. Her trait is the wingsuit that we get to see here, and we see just how that works. It definitely looks like a lot of fun to me, and it has quite a bit more control actually than what I thought it initially would. Her specialty is the smart grenades, in which it looks like she's got 3 sets of grenades to use, those being anti-armor, EMP and scatter. We get to see pretty quickly that the anti-armor grenades are actually homing grenades, and I assume that within like a certain range of a vehicle, they'll pretty much just lock onto heat signals and track the target, which I think is actually a pretty interesting concept. Hopefully it's not OP, but it does look pretty fun to use either way. We then get to meet Jisu Paik, who is a South Korean specialist that comes under the Recon class. So again, that is now 3 Recon specialists in Paik, Rao and Casper. Her trait makes it so that if someone shoots you, then you'll actually be alerted of their position, and we see that pretty clearly here as the enemy is highlighted in red after shooting her. And then right after that, we get to see the EMGX scanner ability, which is quite literally a wall hack, and that needs to be nerfed immediately in my opinion. But again, I will dive into my thoughts on some of that stuff at a later date. Now lastly, we see Constantine Angal, who is a Romanian specialist in the support class. We get to see him revive a teammate really quickly here, which is his trait, and he also fully restocks the teammate with armor as well, so he kind of buffs you as he revives you, which is definitely interesting, and I'm keen to see how that goes in multiplayer, whether or not that is a little bit OP, but again, we can't really test that until we actually play the game. We then get to see his specialty, which is calling in loadouts as well as providing ammo and armor to teammates, which we can see him doing here to Irish. And one thing to note about the loadout is that it gives you the option to choose between your own preset loadouts, so you'll be able to actually customize these loadouts rather than them just being like pre-made or something, but it doesn't look like you can actually customize them on the fly here. So I think you'll only be able to choose the loadout that you've actually made in the menus, and not just like completely customize it when you do open the loadout. So anyway, that is pretty much it for the new specialists, and now like I said, we are going to quickly circle back and just kind of touch on all the other little things that I noticed throughout the trailer that weren't necessarily just relating to the new specialists. So going back through the Rao clips, this looks to be on Kaleidoscope, and we get confirmation of another weapon here, this one being the PP29, as you can see just above the ammo count, and it does look a lot like the PP19 Bison in the image, so I assume this weapon is based off the PP19, and it's essentially just like the future version of the weapon, if that makes sense. We then get to see another new weapon here in the MP9, which is no doubt another SMG, and it kind of looks like a mix between an MP7 and like an Uzi or something like that, and as you can see, it has a 51 round magazine, which is exciting to see as well. I do enjoy a good SMG with lots of rounds in the magazine, so I will definitely be putting that attachment in my plus system. Another thing in this clip, which is kind of relevant throughout the entire gameplay actually, is that the compass down the bottom that was actually previously only there during ADS, however it is now permanent, and I assume you can actually turn that off if you want. So that is another small change to the UI, and in just a few days from now I'm going to be making a full video on all the UI changes, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. In Sundance's clip we then get to see the 12M Auto, which I assume is just a variation of the AA-12 shotgun that is yet another newly confirmed weapon in the game. If you then take a look at the XP or score feed over on the right of screen there, that actually gets moved to the middle of the screen halfway through the trailer. This is obviously just like a quick update to the UI that was made at some point, and it has actually been improved upon even further since then, as they showed in one of the UI clips. So I thought that was pretty funny that they are constantly updating and improving things so rapidly that even the trailer they uploaded has 2 different UI states within it, which is a good thing to see really. It means that they are constantly working on those areas of the game. Moving on, we then get to see another newly confirmed weapon in the AC-42, which looks to me like a TAR-21 or something similar to that anyway, and it appears to be a 3-round burst weapon. I did also notice that the icon for the revive function seems to be a little bit different than it was in the beta. I personally found this one actually much harder to see than the version that we saw in the beta, so I'm not too sure that I'm a fan of it, but it is obviously a quick clip, so it's kind of hard to say just based off that. Now finally, on this loadout screen we get to see confirmation for 3 things, one being the EMP grenade that I mentioned earlier, 2 being another newly confirmed sniper by the name of the DXR1, and then also an insertion beacon, or formerly known as a spawn beacon, so that is another gadget that we will be able to use as well. But that is pretty much it for the trailer, guys. Definitely not as much sort of hidden stuff as some of the previous trailers, but there were some small goodies in there nonetheless, and as we get closer and closer to launch, I am getting even more excited to get my hands on the finished product. There was obviously a huge amount of info that we learned yesterday, and so you can expect to see plenty more videos on all of that info in the next couple of days. Like I said, I'll be covering all the UI changes and essentially just everything that is different from the beta to the current build that they've shown us, and that'll be going up in a few days, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel with those notifications on. If you guys want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.